Feel good about this?
I feel excellent about this.
Hold on. No, watch out.
I'm in a room with shelves of booze. Things can't get better.
Do you want me to like pour you a glass? Is that better for on-air stuff? What do you prefer?
You've read my mind.
We started in, I think it was September of 2012.
Yeah.
And I actually did a Kickstarter that totally failed. Because why would anybody give us money? They had no idea.
You're like, we're gonna get so much money. Well, how much?
I think
did you get?
No, I just want to buy a couple pieces of equipment. I think it was like $2,000. I think only my dad gave me $100, but nobody knew who I was.
So your dad's your only Patreon.
Pretty much, yeah. No.
Wouldn't it make me funny? Like the only people that are Patreons are like your family members.
That's exactly what this was.
But then they're like pushing you. So when are we gonna get the new private video, Brian? We're paying you $5 a month. I want to see some product.
Yeah, so we started then, and we just started doing it because there was nothing at the time, and we've come from just like kind of a classic cocktail background.
What do you mean by that?
Just the classic stuff. When I first started making a cocktail, it was sitting in our old house. It was 2008. We moved in 2007, or actually no, 2008 we moved in. I was sitting at we had a little breakfast bar. I was sitting there and I'm like, gosh, I make really terrible drinks. And we hate to cook, cannot stand cooking. And as I was looking online, I'm a laptop or somebody's laptop, and I was just looking for a video or looking for a recipe, and I came across this video of a guy named Robert Hess. I've heard of him. And so he worked up at Microsoft at the time and just cocktail expert, and I saw his video. I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I'm like, okay, seems like he knows talking. It was kind of interesting, talk about the history of it, and so I'm like, okay, I'll make it the way he says to make it, and I'm like, this is really good. And then I made that margarita, started watching more of his videos, and then kind of just taught myself. I've never worked a day in a bar in my life, ever, so I'm always completely self-taught. And I started watching videos, reading books, and going from there, and just my wife and I making drinks at that time, and then we had a kid and just continued making drinks at home. And
so what made you decide to start making videos?
So we started making videos.
Because it's one thing to learn how to make cocktails, but what made you decide hey, I should make videos about making cocktails?
Correct. So I'm in digital marketing, communications work, and so I think at the time, in 2011-ish or so, I knew video would just become more and more important in
I think so.
digital marketing. And at the time I was trying to get different jobs and kind of build my resume, right? So I wanted to kind of say, it's one of those things where I was like, okay, well maybe I could write sort of a blog and kind of analyze making videos and the world of YouTube and the importance of it and how it impacts things. And I'm like, well, or I could just do it and just experience it versus just trying to learn about it so I can say oh, I'm an expert on this.
Yeah.
And so we're okay, well, let's just do this. And at the time there were no people making videos showing people how to make good cocktails on video. The only quality was a company called Small Screen Network. And they had the Robert Hess videos. They've worked with tons of people, Jamie Boudreau, Jeffrey Morgenthaler. And at the time, they had the best quality videos out there. High production value, quality ingredients, quality instruction. And so I kind of used that as a model, but then just said, I want to do it myself. And two-person show, my wife would film it and direct it, and then I would just kind of come up with it. We had no script. It was all unscripted. I just do it on the fly. And we started doing it.
From the beginning, there'd be no script.
Yeah. We never, that's why we'd film twice, though. So basically we'd do a static wide shot, and then we would do kind of more close-ups, moving shots. And then I would just repeat it twice. And then the second time is almost always better. Yeah. So that's kind of how we got started.
How did you come up with the name of your show?
Well, we liked making cocktails. We made them at home. We wanted to show people make them better, so it was better cocktails at home, and that was kind of what we came up with, and just liked the name of it. And I did the logo myself. It's a cocktail glass, little lightning bolts, little Harry Potter reference influence, and just kind of started. And we did really well for a couple of years. It's just really regular. I think so far we've done over 100 episodes, and then like I said, we had a kid, and then we had another kid, and then my mom got sick with cancer, and so like our lives just kind of took over. And so it kind of having like, you know, we don't have any family in the area, so we don't have any like easy built-in babysitters, that kind of stuff. So it just got really hard for us, and so now hopefully our kid's a little older. We're gonna start making more videos again, and honestly,
And they're going to be the cameramen then, right?
that'd be cool.
Kingsley will be cameraman number 1.
When we were doing our show really regularly, is we always loved tiki drinks. We've liked them for a long time. I mean, honestly, since Tacoma Cabana opened, that was like our first kind of like big jump into it.
Yep.
And like I said, we were regulars there every week, and then we had kids, and then we stopped being regulars for a while.
Well, that's how I found you. That's how I found you. Is you did a video where you're actually making drinks at Tacoma Cabana.
Yeah, that was back before that was when it was still possible. Before like it was slammed like every single day.
Oh God, yeah.
Because I would have been buried, and I would have had no chance.
No, well, yeah, you're right. There was a point like in the middle week if you went in like a Wednesday, or so, you'd be okay.
That was probably the only time they actually had people they actually served drinks that were not tiki drinks in there.
Yeah.
Because they let me make my little menu up and let me try bartending for a night.
Instead of all the types of cocktails to make, what are your favorite types to make?
We kind of go. I feel like we go in like sort of waves. You know, like we make a lot of tiki drinks. But a lot of originals that I just kind of make up.
Okay.
Based on flavors. I'm like, oh, I'll just try this. And sometimes I try to do, you know, I'll follow the classic recipes. It kind of goes in like waves in terms of like what I'm into, you know, what season it is, how tired I am, honestly, like from jobs and kids.
If you're tired, then the cocktail is...
This is the pour. Exactly, yeah. I mean, let's just come down here, like, okay, let's watch something for a few minutes, and we'll just pour a little ounce and be like, okay, that's it. And that's what So it takes me a long time to drink through everything because I don't drink it very fast, but that's okay, you know?
I'm the same way.
It draws it out. But yeah, we make, honestly, like I said, we started classic cocktails, like, you know, the old stuff, martinis, Manhattans. Like last night we had friends over, I made just Manhattans for everybody because he brought me some really nice brandied cherries.
Nice.
And so I was like, okay, let's make some Manhattans. And one of our friends over, he's like, oh, my parents used to have Manhattans all the time. So I was like, oh, cool. He struck me as Manhattan kind of guy. Like, I'm like, I think you're going to like a Manhattan. He's like, yeah, I do. And so I made Manhattans last night, and that was really great. So I make all kinds of stuff, honestly, like the whole gamut. And then our show, we never filmed that many tiki drinks, though, partly because they're so complicated, and it was harder to film a cocktail when it has like 8 ingredients.
Yeah.
It takes longer on video. It takes longer. It's really difficult to do well. And the other problem was our old show is... the setup for our show is we used to have our set in our attic.
Yeah.
And our kitchen was down probably 30 feet below that. So we'd have to drag everything upstairs, 2 flights of stairs.
Oh my God.
And so it was always harder with tiki drinks because there's just more stuff, more everything. So we didn't do a ton of that because of our bar setup.
But now you have a bar here in your rec room.
This is like sort of this is the beginnings of our second bar. So our first one we built was called the Skeleton Key in our old house. We had our bar in the attic. We filmed for Better Cocktails at Home. That was like our set. It was really a set. We never used it. It was purely for filming videos. And then we did some renovations to make that room into a playroom and other stuff. And so then we're like, okay, well, let's put a bar in on the main floor. And we had a closet. And so it was 4x6, so 24 square feet. And we put a bar in there. It's called the Skeleton Key in the Tiny Tiki Room. And so that one I designed completely from scratch, conceptualized it, designed it. I did some of the construction. We had some of the guy doing construction for us for the renovation. He did some of the shelving. And so that we built, completely from scratch, planned it out, executed it. And I love that bar. It's just an amazing bar. It came out, it was like everything I wanted. It was exactly what was in my mind is what that home bar became. The Skeleton Key was kind of like its standard mode, I called it. And then we had Tiki mode. And it turned into the Tiny Tiki Room. And I had the hula matting and everything. I could cover the countertops. And I had Philips Hue lighting, so the whole thing would transform. And it was, it was still like white wall, so it wasn't like 100%. It wasn't 100% tiki bar. But, for like...
Good enough.
For a 4x6 space, it was pretty good for having 2 bars in one, kind of. And now we moved. And so this is our new bar that we're working on. And we just this is what we got to start with. And I think it's been really cool to me to see how building home bars, how you can do it really well and how you can think about it. That's been really interesting to me. And I've been trying to think of how do I capture that on videos and cameras, that process of building and construction and conceptualizing. For me, that's that was honestly some of those fun I've had with around cocktails was building our last home bar. And then for this one, which is going to be called the Quarter Deck Club, thanks to Jason Alexander, he let me borrow his name. And I asked him first though.
Hey gang, we'll get back to the tiki conversation here in just a second, but I want to let y'all know they have t-shirts for sale. They are screen printed in America. The artist is Tony Canepa, and they're going for $20 a piece, $25 including shipping. If you're interested in buying one, go to my website, tikiwithray.com, and then there's a tab that says buy a t-shirt. Click on there and just follow the prompts. So thank you very much. And let's get back to the tiki conversation now. I honestly think as time goes on, I think you're going to start seeing more and more people starting to host cocktail parties at home. Hey, instead of going out to a bar, because let's be honest with you, I mean, I got into craft cocktails back around 2005, 2006 up in Seattle.
Yeah, same time kind of.
And pretty quickly those drinks got really, really expensive. And then it got to a point for me where I'm like, I don't feel like paying $16 for a cocktail. And then it's like, well, I can make a martini at home for like nothing.
Yeah, for $3.50 probably.
So I think that you're going to start seeing more and more people be like, you know what? Instead of us going to a bar and throwing out all this money, why don't we just come back to my place?
Yeah.
And I'll make us martinis.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, that aspect of, and it's like you hear about the martini culture of the mid-century 50s and 60s and stuff. And, I haven't done extensive research, and I always wonder okay, how accurate was that? Was that true? And I mean, it's my grandparents, they had a martini every night for a super long time, and then they kind of tapered off towards not too long ago. But
I think the proof is in the pudding because there's a lot of homes, a lot of mid-century homes. In the basement, there's a bar built into the place.
Yeah, totally. And this one was constructed by two owners ago. Probably around, I don't know exactly. I'm hoping I'm going to connect with him because some of the neighbors are still in contact with him. He built it, and I heard he was like a shipwright or a millwright or something. So basically, he did all of the woodwork on his own, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, I'm going to continue that with this space, and it's going to be. I have high hopes for it. So.
Is this where you're going to start doing your filming then?
Yeah, this will be our new set. But it's cool to think about the theme when Jason and Robin opened Devil's Reef. I was like, okay, this is really I'm like, okay, now I get what they're doing and how a theme. I've been tons of bars, right? And all the bars have a theme, right?
Yep.
They have a concept, if you will. I think that's the the hot industry term. And I think if people actually did the same thing with their own home bars and said, okay, what is my theme here? What am I trying to do?
Yep.
It would come together in a much more cohesive way, and their home bars would be so much better for it.
I'll tell you what, I can't wait until you start making new videos, and I think a lot of people could really use the information.
Yeah, well, that's
or even just talking about say we're talking about tiki drinks, right?
Yeah.
I remember when I first got into making tiki drinks, where you talk about the rums and stuff like that. It'd be okay, a light rum, a dark rum, or a gold rum, whatever, and I had no idea. And it's nice if you can have someone be like, okay, if you're going to make this cocktail, these are the rums you should be using. Naming names.
Yeah, that's something I always found. I'm very practical. And I always, there's some people oh, just use a gin. Well, it's okay, sometimes you use a gin, and it's great. But
what type of gin?
Yeah, totally. So I think I've always been... Another downside to naming stuff is this is the argument, right? It's then people are going to be well, I have to use that one because that's what they said. It's come on. It's a guideline, right?
Everything's a guideline. I'm looking at your shelf, and you have Campari and you have Aperol, and a common tiki drink is a jungle beer that requires Campari. And I was at a friend's place, and they didn't have Campari; they had Aperol. So I'm like, oh, all right, well, I'll make jungle beers with the Aperol. I ended up liking it better.
Yeah.
So that's how I make my
Just
gin
like
beers.
more subtle or
It
more
was
like
a little more subtle, yeah.
grapefruity. Like I feel like that's kind of like
Yeah.
that's awesome.
So just things like that, and just giving people
But I think
ideas and directions.
yeah, and I think that's kind of what we try to do with our show. Like we first started, we had all these rules about how we would film stuff, like no sub recipes, right? Because at the time in the craft cocktail world, it was like, oh well, it's a sage tincture. You know, it's just like that was kind of at the time that was sort of what was happening, and like I didn't want that. It's not practical for home people because if they make a batch of it, they're not going to use it.
Yeah.
Right? Like they don't have the kind of volume a bar does where they can make those kinds of things and it makes sense.
Exactly.
And so like we never did that. Like everything we did, we poured from a bottle that you could buy. That it wasn't like some, you know, like I wouldn't be like, oh, well, you got to use like this. I mean, like this, there's like hardly any bottles of this.
Yeah.
So I would never, and I still wouldn't make a drink with like, oh, you got to, you know, here, use this just to like kind of show off. That's not like helpful to anybody.
No.
So I would never do that. I would try to find stuff like, you know, but I want to like, oh, hey, I found this is really cool. But try to like be reasonable about it, right?
Yeah.
And I always have these ideas of, you know, stuff you could do on the show. Like, and hopefully I get to it one day. It's just hard to like find the time, right? I mean, that's the hardest thing. I mean, like, I have these like, I would love to do a series where I'm comparing like the vintage spirit
Yeah.
to the modern you know, what you can buy now. Like what's the difference?
Wow.
Like, this is, I think, is a 60s Cointreau.
Seriously?
Yeah, I think it's about 60s. Damn. And so I have a few of that kind of stuff. Like this is probably 60s, 70s Angostura. But just, you know, I have these ideas and it's just trying to like execute on them and, you know, it's time, right? Like
Yeah.
it's life and sometimes it's like I want to just watch a movie.
Yeah.
And sip on a drink, not type at a computer. But yeah, so we're getting there. We're slowly trying to get back into it. And
Well, I'll tell you this, and I can't wait for you to start making new videos because there's a lot of people I know that they don't really watch television anymore. They watch YouTube.
yeah,
That's kind of how I am. Like I subscribe to different people on YouTube, and I watch those videos at night.
totally.
So, and with the smart TVs that you can just pull YouTube up,
Yeah.
I think you're doing a good thing for society.
Well, you know, helping people drink a little bit better. It's a noble goal, right?
That is a noble goal. Helping. What did you just say? Helping people to drink better.
Yeah.
There you go. That should be your logo.
I think we had an unofficial logo for a while. It was like, it's not hard to make a good drink at home and somebody shows you how. How much record time do you have?
Which is you want.
Okay. What do you shoot for? Like, I mean, how much? I mean, you don't want 3 hours of footage because then you have to edit it.
No.
So-
But I'm thinking if we talk for about 2 hours and 45 minutes, we should have more than enough
Oh,
footage.
perfect.
Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.